Well, hey there, entrepreneur. This is episode number 22 of the Scale to Sell podcast, the 5 stages to scale and sell your business. Now, if you're like a lot of other business owners, they're busy working in your business, but not necessarily on it. So in this episode, Steve and I are going to be talking about the 5 stages, kind of give you the 30,000-foot view of how you should be thinking about the actions that you're taking in your business to try to grow and to exit it on your terms. Steve, I know you've been talking to a lot of business owners here recently, and isn't that the sense you get? There's a lot of busyness, a lot of to-do lists and tasks, but not a lot of clarity when it comes to how they're being strategic about growing their value and how they're going to be able to get that value from their business.
No doubt. I was talking to somebody the other day, and he had owned his business for about 40 years.
Oh, wow.
And, he's kind of stuck in his processes, looking to exit in about 3 years' time. I think he was in his late 60s. And he says, it's been my life. That's what he's put his blood. We talk about blood, sweat, tears, their finances. You sacrifice family. And, when everybody else is out golfing, sometimes you're at work. Weekends, they're out doing things, you're at work. Not all the time, but a lot of times you're working in the business. And if you get these things set up, not only if you want to keep owning the business, it becomes more profitable, and you can actually have a life. Like many of the younger generation, like you, Adam, and they want to have that more holistic view of, yes, some of them would want to own a business, but they don't want to put in the 60, 70, 80, 90 hours a week. They want to have the business to control their own destiny, and they want to have that life too. So work-life balance is a big thing right now.
Yeah, the and, not or. Work and life, not
both.
not just the one or the other, but both. So we're going to go through the 5 stages. So the very first one is stage number 1, identify value. What do you have? I know for a lot of business owners, they really don't have a clear picture of what their business is worth and how their business compares to other businesses, right?
No doubt. So identify. And, they say that only about 20% of business owners in the last couple of years have had a estimate of value done of their business. What that value is. I joke anymore. It used to be if your house, it was hard to get value. Now it's Zillow and, other places out there that you can, realtor.com, you can go on any minute of the day and look and see what your neighbor's house or somebody across the country, all right? There's no such software for a business owner because every business is different. So the first thing you need to have is what is the value of the business, all right? And then there's other things that you can identify in there beyond the value. How do you fit in the range of value? Because if you're a roofing company, do your numbers project you as average, below average, or maybe best in class? And these multiples within that range can vary widely, not only the value when you exit the business, but in the profitability of the business, whether you're going to hold it and retain it or turn it over internally or sell it someday outright. So identify not only value, but then what is your team like? The structure of your team, identifying them. Who right now it's hard to get employees retained, and we talk about that a lot. Retention of first finding the great talent, then retaining, motivating them so you don't have to make every decision in the business. There's so many things to identify as value. Your systems, processes, we've talked about, I think the 4 C's before.
Yeah, we'll talk about those in a minute.
Start with the estimate of value of the business first, and then we can go and analyze the rest of where you fall in the range of value compared to other people in your same industry.
Well, and like you were saying, it's not just about understanding the value at exit, though that's important, right? We've talked about episode 4 was, are you financially ready to retire? There's a lot of people that are ready mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever, ready to be done, but they don't know what their business is worth. And so it provides clarity there. But in the meantime, while you're still in growth mode, while you're still trying to scale the business, it does give you a picture. It's kind of like getting a checkup, right? Like, where am I at in this? And how does this compare to other businesses? How does this compare to prior years in the trends, the trajectory of where we're going? What does that look like? And how does that help you strategically plan for the future? There's a lot of value both for the business and the personal side of things when you have clarity on the value that your business represents. So That's stage number 1. Stage number 2, protect value, right? So de-risk your business. Minimize risk to maximize your multiple. That's my framework here.
If it's your largest paycheck, which it's your business, I assume it. Maybe you have multiple businesses like I do, but I have a core business, my main business, and I got to protect the income in case something happens. So it's not just on the sell. What do I do to protect the value? So I got to protect it in case I'm not able to perform, be out there. If I lose a key person, a key teammate or whatever, what is that risk? I want to minimize that risk. Do I have my business is focused on just a handful of clients and I'm great, I'm killing it, but what happens if I lose one of those clients or multiple clients, or I'm carrying too much debt? There's a number of things before you can grow or before you can exit. You should de-risk the business and protect what you've got right now. So identify, and then you got to protect your assets out there. If it's your largest asset, you definitely want to protect both the income and the value of the business.
Well, it just makes sense that as you're on your trajectory of growing the business, and then eventually you're going to exit, right? We've talked about that before. You're going to exit at some point. The question is it going to be on your terms? Are you going to be prepared for it or not? But if you're thinking in terms of who is going to be taking over, especially if you're looking for an external sale, that business buyer is coming in and they're going to be looking at what types of risks are associated with this business, right? Is the customer clientele very small and you've got a limited base that the business is reliant on? What is the structure, the development of the team, the processes? There's so many different things that if you take the time to de-risk the business, it suddenly becomes very valuable to someone because they see the profit. They don't see as much of the harm or the problems associated with the business. That makes it a more attractive and therefore hopefully more lucrative and beneficial for you business when it comes to the time of actually selling it.
Systems document it. Processes document it. These are things that enhance not only your ability to grow your business. The same thing that will enable you to sell the business at a high multiple are the same people, processes in place that will help you grow the business, scale the business if that's what you want to do. You need to protect first before you grow. I've seen businesses take on too much growth, and I've seen it crumble and fall apart because they weren't ready for the growth. If you're not ready for growth, you're probably not ready for exit. If you're not ready for exit, you're not ready for growth.
That's really strong.
I think it's common sense, kind of, right?
It's common sense, but it's also not a common way that business owners think, unfortunately. And that's why we're here. Protecting value, to say it another way, protecting value is really the first stage of the next part, which is the building value.
No.
Right. You're taking risk off the table and you're setting yourself up for the ability to grow in a wise way where, like you were saying, you're positioned in a way to better handle those opportunities and take on the challenges that could come up just because of the natural thing. Walk into Destiny. We've cited this book a number of times. Very important. They talk about the different risks that you could face, and they mirror the 3 parts of exit planning that we talk about, and really business planning: personal, life, and business. Whether that's the personal risk of what's going on in your family, your health, accidents that could come up, those sorts of things, or the financial things, what's going on in the marketplace, problems with diversification of the industry, personal loans and debts that could impact things, the business, having key people, key customers, business interruptions, changing industries that could happen because of changes in technology, right? Every time you see a change in technology, you see a shift of, okay, we get rid of these jobs and new ones come along in different ways. Yeah, AI is kind of that current trend of talking about how is it going to change the way that people work? If it can make you more efficient in brainstorming and organizing and analyzing data, how is that going to affect certain industries, some more than others? How are you going to be able to face those certain things? And again, taking risk off the table and setting yourself up for building value, which is stage number 3, is really important.
Building value most time requires risk. right?
Yeah.
You want to take on, you need more team. You got to take on some debt, maybe to buy some equipment, new vehicles, new technology. You need to upgrade this system. It's a risk. And again, if you're one of my former partners in one of my businesses 30 years ago, we were growing really rapidly. And he goes, whoa, we need to slow down. Well, no, we got this other contract. We have this opportunity. Steve, too much growth will kill you just as dead as not enough growth. It sticks in my head years later, decades later. And he was right. We were growing too quickly, and we didn't have everything in place right there. So we slowed down and allowed us to go back and pick up steam when we were ready. We de-risked it, and that was allowed us to build value. There's so many things to building value. Marketing, if you're ready to grow and build, some businesses just goes out and win a defense contracting, one contract. Well, get a contract because there's a risk right there. But for others, you need marketing. And if you're a plumbing and heating company, a roofing company, a chiropractor, a CPA, or whatever it is, marketing so other people know about you. How do you do that dramatically and do it in the right way? When marketing has changed big time over the last few decades, social media wasn't a thing 10, 15 years ago. It's a big part of a lot of people's marketing and growth patterns right now.
I think that's a really important thing. You were talking about the fact that when you're building, which is, again, stage 3, building value, you are naturally taking on risk because you're doing something different. You're trying to grow in new and different ways, whether because you're adjusting to things, you're adding new products or services, you're expanding. There's risk there, and that's why taking some of the other things off the table and planning, being prepared for that is important. But once you've mitigated that risk, you can start thinking longer term, which is really what the building value phase is all about. You're thinking growth mode for more than just the short term actions that are going to take risk off the table. You're looking to, as you were referencing earlier, the 4 capitals, human capital, right? The value of your talent and making sure you've got the right people in the right roles that are ready to be able to help you grow and expand the way that you're wanting to. The structural capital, the value of your systems and the intellectual property that you have as a part of your business. Customer capital, the value of your relationships, the loyalty, the number of them, how you interact with them, repeat customers, all those things. And then social capital, the value of your brand and culture, how your team works together. This is one that's probably overlooked by a lot of people. It gets thrown around in conversation, but people that actually take the time to develop the right kind of culture for them that's going to help attract and retain talent is a big one. But those are your areas where if you're looking to grow your business and you're looking to scale with the end in mind, those are the 4 areas to go to, because the intangible capitals are a huge part of the value that is going to not only help you grow, but also add the value that you're needing to when you exit. You
see businesses that, have been around, you're in an industry, and they're just killing it. And they're all the time growing, and they're not perfect. There's no perfect business because we're dealing with people, and especially in this day and age. But there are rights where you bring the team together. They buy into the owner's vision. They're motivated by not just the best compensation out there, but because they're part of something bigger than themselves, servicing the community and making it like better. I mean, think about a plumbing, an air conditioning company. In the middle of July and August or whatever, when it's hotter than heck in most parts of the country, how great is it to get that person out there and they're servicing with a smile on their face and they're getting the problem served so you can sleep at night and not, all these things come into play, and having that team and people going, hey, I want that technician back out here, and I love these guys. And they tell their neighbors and other people about it. Well, I had this guy out, they weren't that great. Well, use my guy. And they're raving fans. Yep. That builds up and brings the people, the process, the name brand, all those things into one culture. And it takes a while to develop that. That doesn't happen overnight, but it starts with a vision from the employer, by the way. That reminds me, I'm going to have to add a book. So in our Business Builder Thursday once a month, we've started to do a book of the month and talking about like things that we've read and like some of the takeaways and how business owners can apply it in their lives. And I read a book, it was actually last year, but it's going to come up again. I'm reading it again now.
and it's going to be in one of the Business Builder Thursdays that you should sign up for if you haven't signed up for it already, called Creating Superfans. And it's being strategic in how you create a customer experience where people want to not only tell people about you because they had a good experience, but are really, truly a fan that is an advocate for you because of how you were an advocate for them.
I tell, everybody on my team, from a customer service person to the top, whoever it is, the advisor, everybody plays our. I love pointing out one of my customer service reps when somebody calls in and go, hey, they really helped me out. Thanks for getting me on the schedule so quick, or whatever other. They remembered my birthday. They did this. And they become it's part of the team and that culture right there. And if you make them aware of it, we reward them for that, employee retention, we're working on a program called Enhanced Employee Retention right now. It is so valuable. De-risking, as you mentioned, you don't want if you're getting ready to grow your business, the last thing you want to have is one of your top people bugging out and going down the street.
Yeah.
All right. Or you're getting ready to sell the business, and the turnover rate is so high. Your business we made you this offer and the offer, but we're gonna have to offer you less because you have too great of turnover in your employees. You don't have those key employees that are not staying with you. So it all comes together in the culture, the vision. I can't say it enough. The vision of the owner right there. Sometimes we get so wrapped up in the day-to-day and we spouting out the problem after the problem. I like focusing on the vision and where we're going. And I share that with my team on a weekly basis, and hopefully that helps out as well.
That's true. So we've talked about identify value, protect value, build value. When it comes to harvesting value, we're talking about how do you secure that return on your investment, right? How do you unlock the value that's trapped in the company?
It can be done, instead of just an outright sell, it can be done over time. If you think about it, if you're growing the business and the business is 80% of most business owners' net worth, then if you grow the business, you got even more wealth trapped in the business. So how do you start? Well, one, you can be intentional. Don't put all the money back into the business and start separating, putting money aside, increasing what you're putting into your own retirement plans. Or you got to look out for you every now and again. There's other cases where maybe it's a family member you got to bring in. Maybe it's a management team, and you can start harvesting the equity. Some people sell a minority position in their company and capture some of that equity right there. Maybe it's to a management team, and we can help our teams can help get that done. There's ways to get that done. So you sell a portion of it off over time, harvesting equity, and then the grand exit at the time. Maybe you sell 50, 60, 70% of it to a private equity firm or a competitor, and you stay on knowing that it's a great opportunity, staying on knowing that maybe your 30% ownership in the future is worth even more than the 70% done correctly or whatever. So there's different ways. One, you got to be intentional, taking some profit off the table right now, not putting all the money back into the business. Take care of you. It's not just the business. You have to be intentional right there. And then maybe selling a minority position or a majority position at the same time. And you don't have to ever exit the business. You might hang around forever with a 30% ownership of the business, and that 30% with the revenue annually, and you've harvested some equity out and put it into your own personal finances. There's multiple ways to get it done, Adam.
I think the key here for a lot of people is they don't know their options. They don't really understand what is available to them and how to go about seeking those opportunities. And so they make a decision, whatever the case may be. Right now, for the vast majority of business owners, they just close the doors. They just liquidate, not intentionally because that's the best option or whatever, but just because they don't know what their options are when it comes to doing an internal transfer or an external sale and the different variations and the flexibility, the options that you have available to you. And I think that's part of the strength of what an exit team brings to the table is that they've been there. They've done that. They know how to understand what your goals are, understand what the options are when they're looking for potential buyers, who's going to be a good fit for the situation, who's going to be able to take this over. And if you are staying on, wanting someone who is going to be able to grow the company in a way that's also going to benefit you as in your new relationship, your new state of ownership, whatever that looks like at that particular time, that's awesome to be able to have that.
Absolutely. Let me mention this too. There's some hanging out with some tax planners, some high level tax planners. Well, I would like to harvest some equity. I'd like to not put all the money back in the business, but it's required I put all the money. These advanced tax planners sometimes know things that you and I don't know. And if you can save $100, $200, one employer recently over $300,000 a year back in their pocket, right? So through some advanced tax strategies, that's money they can now put at least some of that back into their pocket and harvest some equity right there. So it doesn't always mean taking money out of the business. It's let's find what you're spending money on and let's reduce those expenses, whether it's taxes, too much in taxes paid because it's what you don't know that can cost you, or maybe it's better ways of buying inventory, equipment, or whatever else it might be.
Goes back to the dumb tax that we talked about a few episodes ago of the what you don't know will cost you.
No doubt.
For sure. So stage number 1, identify value. Stage number 2, protect value. Stage number 3, build value. Stage number 4, harvest value. Now stage number 5, manage value. Protect the wealth that you've created and managing your exit options.
We work on 30 and 90-day plans, 1 to 3 year goals, and then the vision typically takes 5 to 10 years to build out. Some of you are looking to never exit or transition it to the family, and that brings, as we've talked about in the past, risk too, having people and process set up to manage that equity and grow on. Because think about it, if you're going to stay in part of the ownership, you're just not going to be around as much. You want that machine running effectively. You want to make sure that that paycheck you've been getting for the last 20, 30 years, because you're going to manage that equity and you don't want to be the manager of all of it. You want to have system and process. That's when you've got your everything lined up. It's the top of the identify, the protect, and the build, and the harvest. It overrides all those systems. And then you can exit it anytime you want to, or you can retain it and have a better life because you don't have to be in the business 24/7 in order for the business to function. Managing that right there sounds complicated, but it's kind of it's the build-up and the results of all these other things that you do strategically. We've talked about creating habits and the processes. Well, this is just putting together, and it's a gradual improvement of every little thing that you do. We've talked about Kaizen and that 1% incremental improvement, atomic habits. All those things come into play right here. Over time, your life gets better. You're more profitable. You have a better quality of life. And if you do exit, it's on your own terms, not settling for a distressed sell or just you can't be there.
You've waited too late.
You've waited too late. Burnout is waiting too late. That means the curve has come down, and best times to sell was the business is growing, right? Market's up and all that, right? People are looking to buy your business. You don't want to wait till burnout, a health issue. We talked about the distresses. You have a disagreement between ownership, you and your partners perhaps, or your health, as we mentioned, divorce, economy. There's all kinds of things. But having these systems in place will help you manage through anything that comes at you.
Well, it gives you the freedom to be able to choose what and when and how that exit looks and what that means for your life. You're getting to create a future that you want to, instead of having to settle for whatever the case may be because you weren't intentional about planning and putting things in place and having the options available at your disposal to be able to choose the exit that fits the type of life that you're wanting to have. Like you were saying with burnout or waiting till it's too late because of market conditions or things like that. When you are consistently scaling with the end in mind and you're preparing for an exit, even when you're in growth mode, you've got the options.
Here's another thing. People try to time the exit of a business. Well, I'm 65, I'm this, I'm that, I want to exit at this time. It's very hard. It's kind of like trying to time the stock market, right?
Yeah.
It's very difficult to do. Occasionally somebody will get lucky, but it's not that. That's why you need a team in place. Some of these people on the team will come in and be there in your life for a little bit, but the return on the investment is so, can be so incredible to both, like my quality of life right now, where I only see clients 3 days a week instead of 6 days a week. It's not like I don't do things on Mondays and in the half a day I work on Friday. I take more vacations now. That wasn't possible 5 or 10 years ago. It just was. I had to be there all the time, right? I was the machine. Now the machine is, I've got systems and processes in place, making more money than I've ever made and helping other business owners do the same.
That's awesome. I think the key here, and really to sum up what we've talked about here, is it all starts with identifying value, because it's hard to do any of the other things with the information that you're going to need without that. So no matter where you're at in the business, start with identifying the value with a business evaluation. This is something that we, as a part of our Scale to Sell, our exit teams, we've brought in the people that are the experts at this, like highly, highly qualified. And because you're a listener, because you're a watcher of the podcast, you get access to them for free to do a free business evaluation. And again, this is the first step on an ongoing basis of understanding where you're at and what this means for your next actions based on what your goals are. So go to scaletosell.com/discovery, or you can click the link in the show notes below to start that conversation, to connect with us so that we can learn about your business, get you connected with our team to be able to get that business valuation done and get you started in this process so that you can make it through these stages. You can develop a business that is going to be able to grow now and have the components there necessary for growth. And when it's time to exit, when you're ready to exit, you can exit on your terms. So until next time, keep scaling.
Thank you for listening to Scale to Sell with Adam Burton and Steve Burton. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Visit our website at www.scaletosell.com or give us a call at 757-313-4080. And don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Scale to Sell. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing, tax, legal, or other advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified professionals with any questions you may have regarding your personal or professional plans. Prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome.